Okay, let's dive right in. Welcome to an explainer where we're going to crack open one of the biggest puzzles in business. How in the world do you figure out the cost of one product when it's made at the exact same time as something else? It's a question that has a huge impact on the prices you and I pay every single day.
Think about it this way. You've got a cow. When it's processed, you get steak and you get leather. They both came from the same animal, right? The same initial cost. So what's the real cost of the steak versus the leather? And this isn't just some brain teaser. It's a problem that businesses, from massive oil refineries to local dairy farms, have to solve constantly.
So to really get our heads around this puzzle, we first have to speak the right language, the language accountants and managers use. Let's break down three key terms that are basically the building blocks for this whole conversation.
First up, we have joint cost. This is the big shared pot of money spent to get the whole process going. It's the cost of the raw material and everything it takes to process it before you can even tell the different products apart. So, think about the cost of drilling for crude oil way before it's been turned into gasoline or kerosene. That's your joint cost. Now, the things that actually come out of that process, those are called joint products. And we're not talking about leftover scraps here. These are multiple, distinct products that each have real, significant value on their own. The classic examples, like we said, are gasoline and kerosene from that crude oil. Or think about milk, cream, and cheese all coming out of the same dairy operation. Okay, and this one is maybe the most important of all, the split-off point. This is that exact moment, that critical stage on the production line, where our products stop being one single blob and become separate, identifiable things. This is the moment the puzzle really begins, because every single dollar spent before this point is a shared cost that now somehow has to be divided up. So, you might be wondering, okay, why go through all this trouble? Can't companies just, ignore it and just look at the total profit from everything? Well, it turns out the stakes are way too high for that. Allocating these costs isn't optional. It's a business necessity. For starters, there are super strict rules. Accounting standards, like GAAP, require it for financial reports to be considered accurate. But beyond that, think about it. How can a company possibly know if its gasoline is profitable if it doesn't know what it costs to make? This stuff is absolutely crucial for setting prices, for meeting legal requirements, for fulfilling contracts, and even for things like insurance claims. This is not some little academic exercise. It's fundamental to how a business actually works. All right, so we get it. We have to split up these costs. The big question is, how? Well, let's start with the first two tools in the accounting toolkit. These are probably the most straightforward approaches because they're based on things you can physically see and measure. On one hand, you've got the physical quantity method. The logic here is dead simple. If you made more of something, more gallons, more pounds, it gets a bigger chunk of the cost. But on the other hand, you have the sales value at split-off method, which says, whoa, hold on. It's not about how much you made. It's about how much it's worth the second it becomes its own thing.
Let's put some real numbers to the physical quantity method. Imagine a total joint cost of $100,000. We get 60,000 units of product A and 40,000 of product B. The math is as simple as it looks. Product A makes up 60% of the total output, so bam, it gets 60% of the cost, $60,000. Product B gets the other 40. Nice and easy. But now check out how the sales value method completely changes the game. Here, we've got a joint cost of $15,000. But instead of volume, we're splitting it based on what each product is worth right at that split-off point. Product A has the highest sales value, so it has to carry the heaviest burden, $7,500 of the cost. A lot of people see this as a fairer way to do it because it links the cost to a product's actual ability to bring in money. So those first two methods are awesome if you can sell your products right then and there. But what happens when life gets more complicated? What if your products need more work, more packaging, more refining before a customer will buy them? For that, we need a couple of more advanced methods. These methods are a bit more forward-looking. The net realizable value method, or NRV, looks ahead to the final price a customer will pay, and then it works backward, subtracting any extra costs to get there. The gross margin method, though, is a different animal. It's more of a strategic tool. It actually starts with a desired profit margin and then assigns costs backward to make sure every single product hits that target. Let's break down that NRV method. It's really just a simple, logical process. Step 1, figure out the final price you can sell each product for. Step 2, subtract any extra cash you have to spend to get it ready for sale.
Step 3, whatever's left over is your net realizable value, and that's the number you use to divvy up those original joint costs. And here's what that looks like in the real world. Check out product N. It's got a much higher final sales value, but it also costs more to finish. Once we subtract those extra costs, its net realizable value is $3 million, compared to $2 million for product M. So, when it's time to allocate our $1.8 million joint cost, product N gets the bigger piece of the pie. Its higher profit potential means it has to carry more of that initial cost.
Now, the gross margin method, this one's a completely different beast. Like the quote says, this method is all about engineering a specific result. Management basically decides, hey, we want every product to show the exact same profit margin on the books. Then they just work backward and assign just enough of the joint cost to each product to make that happen. It's a purely strategic move, often used to make sure no single product line looks like it's a loser. So let's pull all of this together. We've just walked through 4 totally different methods, 4 different ways of looking at the same problem. And the choice between them isn't just some boring accounting detail. It has massive real-world consequences for a business's bottom line. This summary table just lays it all out so clearly. You could have the same exact products from the same process with the same initial cost, but end up with 4 completely different cost structures. One method punishes high volume, another punishes high value, a third looks at future potential, and the last one just makes everyone look like a winner. It's wild. And that brings us to the most crucial point of this whole explainer. The cost you see on a financial statement for a joint product isn't some fixed, undeniable fact of the universe. It is the result of a deliberate accounting decision. And that decision directly shapes how profitable a product looks, which then affects everything from marketing budgets to whether that product gets discontinued. And this chart just brilliantly illustrates that point. Using the numbers from our earlier examples for a hypothetical product A, its assigned cost could be $60,000 using one method, but only $7,500 using another. That's a huge difference. The choice of accounting method can literally make a product look like a rock star or a total failure, all on paper. So I want to leave you with this final thought. If the very cost that companies use to decide on a price is itself a flexible number, something based on perspective and accounting strategy, how does that change the way we as customers should think about the price we pay for things? It's definitely a puzzle worth thinking about.